Okay, so here we are with another action figure unboxing, and this is G.I. Joe Classified Series Sergeant Slaughter. Oh yeah. So I've actually bought this figure before. I have a loose one right here. And you might be wondering why I didn't do an unboxing of it. Well, I did shoot an unboxing of this video. It's one of my lost videos, unfortunately, that I shot it on my old laptop that got stolen. So yeah, that episode never got put up onto YouTube, unfortunately. But like uh, like with Zorana and Dusty and what was the Tomax and Zaymot, those were all lost videos. So I was able to purchase them later on and do other unboxings for them. So we're gonna recreate the original unboxing video as best I can. So the other ones I was able to get for fairly cheap, and I was worried that I would not be able to replace Sergeant Slaughter for fairly cheap because he was an online exclusive. But I guess they must have produced too many of them or something because a lot of them wound up at Ollie's. So I was able to get this one for $12.99. So that will complete the lost episodes, I believe. So I went ahead and cut the tape on it, but we should look over the packaging because there actually is a lot to talk about with this packaging. Excuse me. So first of all, we got a nice picture of Sergeant Slaughter right in the middle there, and unfortunately, there's a sticker right over where he's pointing at us, and then surrounding this picture, I should say, we have Sergeant Slaughter in many iterations that us fans would be familiar with. Here we have all this artwork is representing various iterations of Sarge uh, during the vintage line. So here we have on a film strip, you can see the film strip area there, live action appearance of Sergeant Slaughter. He would do live action bits on some of the animated episodes. I believe when they cut up the movie to air it in syndication, they had bumpers with a live action Sergeant Slaughter and also various commercials and stuff. I was actually just watching a commercial that he did in the 90s where they had the animated Overlord. I think that was some of the last Sunbow animation produced. And then we have up here, we have Sergeant Slaughter in the comic book. Now, he didn't appear in the comic book that much. I think it was the sort of thing where, like, maybe Larry Hama thought it was a little silly to have a professional wrestler be a part of an anti-terrorist team. So he kind of used Sergeant Slaughter as little as possible. I think he gave him a few token appearances and then kind of like forgot about him. But the way he used Sergeant Slaughter, I thought was actually really cool because you know, in the cartoon they did this too. He wasn't really so much like the same. It's not like he said, "Oh, it's Sergeant Slaughter from the WWF." He was just like another Joe, a particularly tough one, but he was a member of the GI Joe team. So he was in a couple of issues and then kind of faded off into the background, unfortunately. I know that Larry said I'd seen him say recently that like a few years later he actually met Sergeant Slaughter doing GI Joe conventions, and they actually wound up becoming good friends. So maybe we'll see more of Sergeant Slaughter in the comics in the future. Who knows? And then we have probably the most prominent version of Sergeant Slaughter that I can think of is his appearance in the Sunbow animated series, and that's pretty close to his character model on that show. And he appeared in the 5-part miniseries in season 2, Arise Serpentor Arise, and a couple other episodes that I can't recall the name of right now. And he also had a fairly large part in the animated movie that I mentioned before. And then last but certainly not least, we have Sergeant Slaughter as a child's action figure, which, probably how most of us had most of his G.I. Joe adventures. Now, despite the fact that they altered the proportions of the figure, so it looks like a 3 3/4 inch figure, in a child's hand. This is actually not the 3 3/4 inch figure. It's the same figure that's in this package, but I guess they didn't want to cause confusion by having a completely different toy in the kid's hand. They didn't want to, like, make somebody think, ooh, maybe it comes with a reproduction of the O-Ring figure, which it does not. So, but you can see that even the Sergeant Slaughter is holding a tiny little Sergeant Slaughter in his hand. We'll get to that in a moment. And then down here we have a picture of the actual figure holding the AK that he comes with. And then on the back we have a layout of the character and his accessories, including the campaign hat, the sunglasses, the whistle, the AK, and the swagger stick, and several different hands. So let's go ahead and open them up. Oh, one more thing before I do that. Here's the stuff on the side. So there's his stats on the side that you have to look up online. And then over here we got a nice portrait of the Sarge, mirrored sunglasses and all. Let's go ahead and open them up. And he's in the little cardboard coffin. And there's our pal Bob Remus. All right, so we'll set that aside for now. And got his foot locker, just taped shut. Yes, they wanted to give Sarge a little extra security. So let's go ahead and get that open. I don't remember if they used to tape these shut and they stopped. So it's been a while since I opened a figure. This was a figure from like a year ago. And, oh, I actually did miss these little cardboard sleeves. And I didn't think I would miss them so much until after I'd been opening figures that did not have these little cardboard sheaths for the weapons. And I'd just open it to a bunch of warped rifles. So I did not like that. So they need to bring those back, at least for however long that they're going to be having these plasticless packages, quote unquote. But yeah, there's the AK. So set it down for now. And then this one has his swagger stick and his whistle. So go ahead and get those out. And those are just kind of taped in there. But it was definitely better to have the cardboard stuff to keep the stuff from getting warped. And there is his whistle. So there we go. We can set that aside. And I mainly bought this so I could go ahead and do the unboxing again. Because I felt like this is too important of a figure to not have an unboxing of. And I had dang, Lemmy again. I hate that. I had an idea for a custom for it, but I don't remember what it was now. So I think I will probably I'll at some point either with this one or I'll buy another one. I was thinking about doing a larger version of Copperhead, because I feel like Copperhead should be a bigger dude than what the figure was, the actual Copperhead figure that they made. So if you remember me talking about that in the Copperhead unboxing. All right, so here we go with the accessories that were in that paper bag. So we have here a little Sergeant Slaughter action figure. So he actually comes with an action figure himself, so that's nice. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, obviously. And then there's the campaign hat. Got to have the campaign hat. What's Sergeant Slaughter without a campaign hat? Well, he's an Iraqi sympathizer. That's what. And I don't see the sunglasses in here. There's the ammo clip, the gun, and that's going to go on the rifle too. And then we have a whole bunch of hands. Where's the sunglasses? You gotta have the sunglasses. Oh, here they are. I forgot about the other cardboard sleeve I had. So that's got the sunglasses in it. So we got to open up one more cardboard sleeve. I'm going to set all those hands down there. Whole bunch of hands. So that means a whole bunch of display options, don't it? And there we go. There are the mirrored shades. Now, of course, they're not like, they're silver paint. So they're not like, chromed or anything. That would be cool if they could do that. But I think that'd probably be a pretty delicate piece to try to chrome. All right. So now that we got all the accessories out of the way, let's go ahead and get Sergeant Slaughter himself out of the package. I'd seen a picture recently of Sergeant Slaughter with his daughter, Slaughter's daughter. I think that's actually what she goes by on like Instagram or something like that. And very attractive young lady. And she's got like long dark hair and she wears glasses. So any G.I. Joe fan is going to be like, dude, did Sarge knock up the Baroness? Because she looks a lot like the Baroness. But yeah, she's very, very attractive young lady. So I'm getting these little paper ropes, trying to get these untied. Doesn't have to screw it. I'm just gonna cut it. I'm just gonna cut it. There we go. They cut a lot easier than the rubber bands because they don't stretch. It's part of why I like these cardboard ropes better than the rubber bands. But they switched back to the rubber bands probably because it's cheaper. Like I said, that they might say that they care about green, but all they really care about is green. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. All right. So first of all, let's go ahead and have a look at him now that I got him out of the box. It's a pretty good likeness of Mr. Bob Remus, aka Sergeant Slaughter. Looks like the man himself. They did, I think, give him a little bit more of a hairline than even what he had in the 80s. Now, the Action Force figure, the Valaverse one, that one has like just a solid shaved head. But I think that one's supposed to look more like what Sarge looks like now versus this is supposed to look like what he looked like in the 80s. So it's good to have like two different versions of him. This one, it definitely has the Herculean physique that the cartoon character had, as well as the vintage action figure. All due respect to Bob Remus, but he was never this ripped. It's like he was a big dude and he was a tough dude, but this guy is jacked. So now that we've had a look at him, let's go ahead and real quick, since I happen to have a Falcon beret handy, let's go ahead and that's what he looks like with a beret, in case you want to make him an Iraqi sympathizer. So I actually have in my head canon, I decided the reason that Sergeant Slaughter became an Iraqi sympathizer is because he was captured by Cobra and subjected to the brainwave scanner. They brainwashed him into being an Iraqi sympathizer to try to embarrass G.I. Joe. I guess it's a good thing that Larry kind of left him out of the comics after his first couple of appearances, because I wouldn't have wanted to try to have to explain that. All right, so pop the head back on, and then we have his whistle in place, and I wanted to put that on first because I'm gonna put the hat and glasses on. Since I had to remove the head, I'd have to remove the hat and glasses and put them back on. Now, one of the things that's really impressed me about this figure, and the one that I already have, and I had him set aside in a little bin under my coffee table here, from where I'd had a whole bunch of figures laid out on the table, and then I took them down because I was trying to make room. And so I put all these figures into a bin, and one of the ones that I had in here was the first Sergeant Slaughter that I bought, and put the hat and the glasses on him. And this hat and glasses, that stayed on him this whole time that he's been in this bin, jostled around with other figures, and stayed on there nice and firm. So that's pretty impressive. That's good engineering on the part of Hasbro. So kudos to them. So I'm gonna set this one aside for just a moment. We'll come back to that. That's the one I actually unboxed. This is the one that I already had open, and I had 3D printed for them an M60, and I had him with the gripping hand on the right hand and this kind of grappling hand on the left hand. So that's how I had him holding it. He used an M60 when he appeared in the comic book. That's why I chose that to be his weapon. Yeah, he does come with this AK, which is a repaint of the Cobra Officer AK. And I don't know how accurate this is to a real AK, but it's definitely supposed to be an AK. And we'll go ahead and put it all together so we can see what it looks like completed. And there's what that looks like. But Sarge can't hold it because he's got two closed fists. But they gave us like a whole bunch of hands here. So let's go over all the hands. So first of all, we have this grappling hand, which I think is really cool. It's good to have on a character that's a professional wrestler. So we got one for the right hand, and we got one for the left hand. So we got two different hands for that. And then we have, gun holding hand with a trigger finger. Now the trigger finger doesn't seem quite as pronounced as it is with some other Joes, but you could probably cut it with an X-Acto knife and get it into the right shape. So we got one of those for the left hand and one of those for the right hand. And then we have these pointing hands. So we got one of those for the left hand and one of those for the right hand. And then, of course, the solid fists are what come as default on the figure. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put the gun wielding hand into his right hand. And much like with the other one I had set up from before, I'm going to go ahead and put the grappling hand for his left hand. Because I feel like that works really well for him holding the rifle. We're going to have him hold the rifle. That's going to be the next thing that we do. So, and of course, like I said, I'd printed out that M60 for mine, which I think he looks really cool with. So, but let's go ahead and, since he comes with an AK, we'll have him hold the AK. And like I said, that open grappling hand, that is great for the purposes of having him hold a rifle or having him hold the M60. Like I said, I'll try to get a little bit of a better pose out of that. But I think that works really well. It looks like they're starting to get into where they're going to have more alternate hands and even alternate heads come with these figures, which I think is a good thing. I always like having more display options. So he does reuse some parts from other figures, but not as many as you might think. I can tell that the pelvis is the same as on Roadblock, but it does look like the thighs are different. At least the lower part of the thighs are. Maybe not the upper part of the thighs. And all the rest of the legs look like they're brand new. How about the arms? I didn't think to check the arms. Looks like it might share the same arms as Roadblock. So, but most of this figure is new to this figure. And I do think I don't have him to compare with me right now, but I do think that he shares some of these legs with Bazooka. So I think I could be wrong. So so yeah, let's go ahead and go over his articulation real quick. So head's ball jointed, looks down about that far, looks up about that far, but now I'm knocking his hat around. Might as well just go ahead and take the hat off and the glasses. I don't want to lose them. So yeah, looks down about that far, looks up about that far. So that's an excellent range of motion as far as that goes on the head. Kind of tilts from side to side a little bit, Now, there is another articulation at the base of the neck, so that'll give you a little more expressiveness to various head poses. Arms rotate all the way around as such. Got the butterfly joints, and they move in about that far. It's kind of Hulkamania, isn't it? And back about that far. So, yeah, there we go. We got the double jointed elbows. Got about that range of motion on the double jointed elbows, maybe a little bit more if you tilt it just right. But he is kind of muscle bound, so doesn't get the best range of motion that you could possibly get out of a double jointed elbow, but it's still pretty good. Got an ab crunch, bends back about that far, bends forward about that far. And then, of course, he's got like a kind of a ball jointed waist, kind of reminiscent of the old O-ring waist, but it's not on an O-ring; it's on an actual ball joint. He can do the splits, no problem. All right, so he does have the drop down hips, so that will aid with his articulation when you put him into a sitting position or other types of positions where he needs just that little bit of extra articulation. So good range of motion at that hip joint, and then we have double joints at the knees. So there's that. And then Sarge has a boot cut, so his boot soles all the way around, and ankle moves up about that far and moves down about that far. That is an excellent range of motion at the ankle. So, and then of course it's on a rocker, so it rotates this way also. So yeah, this is a great figure, and I think even like as a retail exclusive, where he was just a little more expensive than your typical GI Joe figure, depending on where you got him. But usually he was going to be about at least $5 more. I still thought it was worth the price you were paying. But if you've got an Ollie's nearby and you can pick up one of these bad boys for $12, well, that's just even better, isn't it? To get them for like, half the price that these figures are supposed to retail for at this point. And usually I'm, able to find some cheaper once they've been out for a while. Amazon will put them on sale, and if Walmart's got them, Walmart's usually like cheaper than that even. So I'm gonna put this bandolier over them. This is gonna be my comic book Sarge now. That's how I'm gonna do this. And for now, I'm not going to bother to put the hat or the glasses back onto him. Because, again, this is going to be my comic book Sarge. And even though he didn't always wear the hat and the glasses in the comic book, again, I think probably that Larry was probably trying to make him look as little like the wrestler as possible and just make him into a cool G.I. Joe character as he could. But yeah, that's about what he looked like in the comic book, as I remember. Once he lost the hat, the Dreadnoks knocked it off of his head with the Thunder Machine. And he lost his hat and glasses, and that's about what he looked like in the comic book for the remainder of that issue. So a big chunk of Slaughter's appearance in the comics, that's what he looked like. So I have a certain affection for this particular look. But at the same time, the hat and the glasses are just such an iconic part of his appearance. A lot of people had made a lot about the fact that it came out within the past few years that Bob Remus was never actually a member of the United States Marine Corps, and so some talk about the idea of stolen valor. And I feel like that's a little unfair to the guy who, it wasn't even really his idea to have that gimmick in the first place. And it was just a wrestling gimmick. Like, you guys know that, Nikita Volkov or whatever, he wasn't really Russian. You don't think Gangrel was an actual vampire, do you? You know that The Undertaker is not actually literally a dead man, and Paul Bearer wasn't a mortuary worker. Kane wasn't really caught in a fire and isn't actually the Undertaker's brother. This is all theater, folks. So he was playing a character of like a tough drill sergeant. And originally it was supposed to be like he was a heel character because, most tough drill sergeants are considered to be kind of heelish. So, but of course, by the time that, the 80s got into full swing with that whole patriotism thing, and, uh, Sergeant Slaughter wound up becoming a pitch man for the GI Joe action figures because wrestling was huge at the time, GI Joe was huge at the time, patriotism was huge at the time. It just made sense. And to us as kids, I couldn't have possibly cared less whether or not uh, Bob Remus actually served in the Marine Corps. It just never even occurred to me to think of it as such. So I don't really have any kind of issue with that. Now, granted, I never served in the Marine Corps. Maybe somebody who served in the Marine Corps might have some stronger feelings about that, and far be it for me to tell them they shouldn't feel that way. I'm just talking like from my personal perspective. It just kind of seems like he was just a guy playing a character. That's all it was. So, but yeah, I'll always have a lot of affection for this guy. I think he did a good job as being the pitch man for GI Joe throughout the years that he did, and I loved the character in the cartoon. I thought he was great in the cartoon. I thought he was really good in the comic book, even though, like I said, he wasn't used as much as you might think that he was in the cartoon either. But but the appearances that he had definitely made an impression on us as kids, and we always enjoyed this character. So at least I know I did. So that's pretty much it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Sergeant Slaughter and what you think about not just as a GI Joe character or this action figure, but the career of the man in general. And he's always been a big name in professional wrestling, and GI Joe and everything like that. So he's definitely a guy worth talking about. We will talk to you next time. Bye.